Alright, Morty, let's go, let's do it. Alright, jam game number 13? 12? I don't know, let's count. Right, another game I picked at random, another visual novel. Although the last game was apparently a visual novel, but it had gameplay, so the biggest thing I've learned from these jam games is that I don't know what a visual novel is. So if it says visual novel, I'm going to assume it's a visual novel and may or may not have a gameplay on it. So it's also a game that I can play in the window and not have to download it. So I am, because I don't feel like downloading it right now. And I may or may not edit the window in post. Or you might not. I mean, there's some art on the side if I decide to not do that. Anyway, I have no idea how long this game is, so we're gonna see. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, so I might stop recording and do that if it's too long. Also, this game apparently has like voices. I don't see any credits for voice actors, so I'm going to assume that's voices in like the like sound effect kind of way. You know, that is why I have them so far turned down so far, because Kentucky Odyssey happened, and that was unfortunate. Not the game, my recordings of it, which were very bad. It happened when I was only a child. The Stowaway, written by Absolute Reason. I woke up into dark, cramped surroundings. The damp air smelled of mold and covered my curled body like a heavy blanket. The wooden walls of this crate hugged me tightly. I didn't know if anyone was outside. If I was found, I was sure to be thrown away without mercy. I wasn't supposed to be here. I held my breath. I stood still, so still as if I were made of stone. I strained to listen for any sign of threats. Wood creaked and groaned. Waves crashed, rain hit glass, nothing that could be a threat. I moved from my crouched position, carefully placing my hand on the ceiling of this grate. I took a shallow inhale, slowly and carefully, as to not make any noise. I pushed the lid off. Right as I was about to poke my head up from the crate, I heard a long, shrill noise that sliced through the tranquil silence, like blade to flesh. It was loud, so very loud. It sounded almost as if the howling wind had cried out in pain. My thin, weak body rattled and trembled. Every hair on my body stood up. My own body betrayed me and refused to move. I fought with myself. You must run. Run, no hide. Run, hide, run, hide, run. Investigate. You must investigate. Yes, I thought, I will investigate. I slowly lumbered across the ship's wooden floors. The ship now began thrashing from side to side, throwing cargo and myself against the walls. No matter how much this force tried to stop me, I pushed on, walked, and climbed until I reached the surface of the ship, the deck. There, just above the horizon, I saw a small lifeboat. It was hundreds of meters away by now. The crew must be on it. I was truly alone on this ship. What was I to do? This vessel was bound to sink. I was bound to die as I lived, alone. The impending doom suddenly struck me with the same force that waves crashed against this ship. I fell to my knees, clutching my chest. Visions of the afterlife appeared in my mind. Was I to reach heaven? No? Hell? Perhaps I was already living in it. I sobbed and threw my head back. Facing the dark sky, I screamed. Help me, I wailed. Please help me. I heard a reply. A long, shrill noise sliced through my desperate cries like blade to flesh. It was louder, ever so louder than anything I could imagine. It sounded almost as if the howling wind had heard my cries of pain. My head slowly turned towards whatever made the noise. A gargantuan beast appeared over the water. It was pitch black and had hundreds of lanky tendrils that swayed back and forth like a malicious spider's web. It had a jaw lined with razor-sharp swords for teeth. The beast's massive body parted the waves as it moved. It moved towards me. My eyes followed its form as it approached. 500 meters away. 100 meters away. 50 meters away. Strangely, I didn't feel the need to flee. Death was approaching me, but who was I to fight it? I was just a little stowaway girl. I sat staring blankly at the deck floor. A shadow loomed over me, and I felt the warm breath of the beast on my back. Its gaping maw leaned over my feeble body. Its grime and slobber fell in clumps around me. In the corner of my eye, I saw the teeth, boulder-sized teeth that must ache to be in my neck. I was to meet my end. For the last time, the beast made a long, shrill noise that sliced through my neck, exactly like blade to flesh. It was painful, ever so much painful than I could ever imagine. It sounded almost as if the howling wind had claimed my soul. I dared not look up. Rah! Scare the hats off you, didn't I? Go whimpers and hide behind each red. Go. There's Granny, New, Myouren, Myouren, Show, the rat, and Captain. Myouren sits with her arms crossed, lips pursed, while Show and Unzod were shielded behind her. I really hope I turned the volume down while it's blown up. The mouse's small stature did little to hide the giant and the tiger. Myouren's lips twitched and she sniffled. Her hands were balled into fists. I'm paranoid again. Man, that's not funny, Marasha. It's not meant to be funny. See, look, I ain't alive anymore, am I? That's why I'm a damn ghost. That's proof. A ghost? Where? Ugh. Marasa blinks. Oi, newsflash, everyone. I'm Most. No ifs and buts about it. Dead. Croaked and keeled over. Deceased. I can float around and shoot Danmaku. You ain't seen me breathe in air, are ya? Yeah, I knew that. New reels her head back and laughs loudly. Boring! You call that ghost story scary? Now, New, if you want to sass our first storyteller like that, surely you may surprise us with your own scary story, Anyhow, who else? Not you. New. Wants to share? Myouren turns to Marasa, clasping her hands together, like she wants to clap. She had a wide grin, as if you just told her the most delightful thing she'd ever heard. Oh, I nearly forgot to give the verdict. That was a wonderful story, Marasa. Oi, it was supposed to be scary. Not wonderful. Mizo placed a hand on her chest and laughed. Scary, Why, such a story is scary to you all? Then perhaps the story I have in mind will horrify you so terribly that you shall have night terrors for dozens of years. Whatever you and New could dream up could not even closely compare to the tale I'm imagining. New let out a humph and leaned forward. She put her hands on her hips. Okay, rickety old geezer, what's your story then? You want to be all smart-aleck about it? Asa drew from her pipe. She crossed her legs and took a moment to adjust herself. She began. Shrouded in mystery, its true identity is mystified not unlike the myth itself. New leaned forward some more, eyebrows raised. Even lesser known than my true form? That's right. It's terribly scary. So scary it will even haunt you in your nightmares. Yeah, as if. Mizo chuckled. Alright, would you like to bet on that? Sure, I'm used to the supernatural. Okay, ghost stories aren't my thing, but even so, I can come up with a way better story than you anyhow. That so? Yeah, try your hardest, Granny. Let's see it. Alright then, but don't say I didn't warn you, From seemingly nowhere, Mizo pulls out a large leather-bound book. Her tail. She can keep things in her tail. This is a joke. She did so, and clouds of dust scattered across the ground. Myouren and Kyoko coughed. Everyone else is immune to dust, apparently. Mizo dramatically opens the book to a specific chapter, flipping the large yellowed papers loudly. Namizo scanned the pages. She began to read the tale aloud, the atmosphere becoming more hostile. The words flew out of her mouth. The Elegy of the Forgotten Kirin Spirit, written by the Mithridius. Sithriga. The story begins. Hey, it's the background. The story begins with someone staring out in a monochromatic room, a painting of a faceless girl in red and white presenting an iru fashioned on the wall as an instrument. Another painting, two girls who were longtime friends, the same faceless girl from before standing between her face stricken with a subtle melancholy. Though if you look closely, you can see a sense of melancholy on her face, as if she had seen happier days. A vision struck our protagonist, the three girls posing in front of the mirror, yet only two reflections displayed. She fell to the floor and wept, covering her face with her bare hands. The visions grew more distorted with time. A barely visible face began to taint the paintings from before. Without a pause, the sound of the off-key iru filled the room, piercing the listener like knives. A silence. The musician trembled as the words, "I hate them," repeated under her breath, growing in intensity until her whisper became a shout. "I hate them, both of them. Why have the gods disgraced me?" As her bitter jealousy echoed across the room, a picture frame of her and the other two girls was on the floor while the glass frame was cracked in half. The area was once again met with a brief pause until she stood up and walked a few inches until she stopped at the center of the room. She asked, "Why have you forgotten me? Won't you please remember me?" With a blank yet sorrowful expression on her face. Without notice, her face reappeared, but instead of her usual melancholy look, it was replaced with a gaping black void, making it appear as if she's a hollow figure. The background was pitch black. The uncanny nature of her appearance only intensified what seemed like gibberish read 8DE1 8CE 8E 2097 D9. I better not have to remember that. The code along with the girls started to grow more distorted, as if it were corrupted. As her face drew closer, everything was growing darker yet again. Yet the last thing she heard was, "Will you remember me even after all this time?" Before it came to realization, her presence had vanished, as if it was all an illusion. Having to vanish without a trace, her presence could never be seen by anyone ever again. Thus ends the tragic tale of the forgotten Kirin spirit, Ren Satsuki. Myouren and Kyoko gasped at each other desperately, very easily frightened. They, in unison, let out a skull-piercing squeal in horror. When the screaming had settled, Mamizo was laughing in a light-hearted manner. "Gee, I told you it was gonna scare you." "Fine, I admit it. I was scared the whole time." As I thought. "I never knew a faceless ghost could be so horrifying, even for me. I'm trembling, honestly. This will definitely haunt me in my nightmares tonight." Marsha crossed her arms, piping up. "The embodiment of the unknown herself, huh? Boy, freak's scared of the very thing she claims to know all about." His bottom lip twitched. "Hey, old freak, don't feel so bad about it. At least you didn't cry like a baby." Not a word, it slid off the log she was sitting on and laid on the ground. The rest of the group looked down at her puzzled as she hugged her knees to her chest. She sniffled. Mamizo clapped her hands together, laughing heartily. "It appears I was right all along." The campfires continued to crackle and pop. All the other members of Myouren had told all their cryptic, haunting tales. Except for the Buddhist caretaker Byakrin, who after experiencing this tale was preparing for the role after Mamizo had finished her duty and delivering a disturbing tale for everyone to hear. Okay, so there's not a tale from every single character. Good, I would be here for like 2 hours. Byakrin's smile beamed like the sun, piercing the surrounding darkness. Such creative stories, everyone. Is it my turn now? The gallery had reserved responses between Mamizo smirking and Kyoko still shivering in fear. There seemed to be no rejection. Sitting silent for a moment, her response was monotone, fit with the sheepish smile. This game's supposed to have voices, right? Did I mess it up by putting it down too low? I may have. done that before. Putting the volume too loud, and then it breaks. Sitting silent for a moment, her response was monotone, fit with a sheepish smile. I've got nothing. Oh no, it's not working. Whatever. Placing her hand on Byakuren's shoulder, Marasa piped up. Boy, why don't you tell us about the time you were in Makai? Being in solitude is pretty scary, that I know. Wonderful idea, Marasa. Oh, but where to start? Kyoko hugged a pillow, rubbing her eyes. Chiming in from behind her pillow, Kyoko's interest was piqued. From the beginning! But make it quick, I'm sleepy. Well, maybe I'll have to skip a few details here and there, but I'll see what I can do. Waiting for everyone to settle down, she shut her eyes and began. Of Flesh and Blood, written by Every? They called me a demon in human form, treated me like I would take their firstborn from them. It was horrible. So they locked me away in Hokai, deep within the depths of Makai. It was harsh. Every breath filled my lungs with their unearthly miasma, almost as if the very world around me could have melted like a summer-bound ice cube. The sky's deep red, the very world screaming in agony as it bled out, not a single bandage to conceal their wounds. Hokai was my personal corner of Makai, alone. Only the voices of heaven and hell could speak to me, lacking kindness, nor with any frequency. It was, to put it, unmatched solitude. Strength and magic could barely hold me together, as it felt every realm wanted a different part of me, wanted to tear me apart to put me back together again. You know, if you're going through 1,000 years of that, you'd probably go insane. But, you know, I've never seen anything going to that. My flesh was stripped from my body, my bones misshapen and rearranged, only returned back to normal soon. There was no giant demon to fight, no hellbound creatures lurking in the darkness, only the unsatisfying hum of being utterly alone could keep the silence at bay. I watched the world bleed out. Years passed as the blood flowed back into it, only to be extinguated once more. Hokai's fire took no prisoners, and I was no exception, watching my body burn to ash. Yet I lived on. A horrific tale, a horrific cycle of death and rebirth, torturous in nature as the everlasting darkness only became more unfriendly. I lost track of time, gathering piece by piece of cursed Makai material to create my sutra scroll, my only lantern in the deepest of caves. My spells were refined like a sharpened sword until there were none left to learn. Solitude settling in again. Darker. Darker, yet it only got darker. That was until you all showed up to rescue me. Spreading her arms skyward, her scroll formed a rainbow above her head. And I'd do it all again if it meant saving more yokai. That's terrible. I'm glad we were able to help you. Marasa nods. Man, it's real tough not being a human anymore. Yeah, you know, do you ever wish you could go back to being human? Myouren paused. I wouldn't be sitting here chatting with all of you if I was. Marasa approached Myouren and wraps her arms around her in a tight hug. She returns the hug. I'm happy too. Kyoko also approaches Myouren and hugs her from behind. One by one, everyone moves to embrace her. The group held the hug for some time. Hello? Who's there? Who was the one screaming? Hello, I'm here to rescue you. Look, I want to go home. If you aren't coming out, you owe me a fee. Oh damn, was that the Shrine Maiden? Quick, snuff out the campfire. Never get off our tails about this. Alright, that was about 20 minutes. Right. Well, yeah, that definitely was a visual novel because there's no gameplay. But again, apparently, even if they have gameplay, it's also a visual novel. I don't know. But yeah, there was that. So next time I'll pick something else at random and play that. See you then, bye.